Alx James has released part 2 of his series exposing and addressing Gabbie Hanna's claims and lies about him in her YouTube series. About 2 weeks ago, Alx James released part 1 and he hadn't posted anything since that video, so a lot of people thought that he wasn't going to release a part 2. But in part 2, he actually says he has more videos coming soon, so I'll be on the lookout for those as well. In the beginning of Alex's video, he addresses the fact that Gabbie keeps referring to the podcast where she's yelling at the mic and calling people bullies as a mental breakdown.
And I'm telling you guys again, there's a fraction that you guys know because I don't show it. Because I'm not that person. I'm not going to expose your private DMs. I'm not going to expose what people have told me you've said behind the scenes. I'm not going to show you the facts and the evidence because I'm 29 years old. And I'm not going to sit down and make a video with screenshots exposing my bullies. These are bullies. These are high school bullies. And they want to come at me and say, you're 29 years old, how you're acting?
Then she needs to throw everything that she said in that podcast in the trash. However, Alx says that she still stands by all of those things that she said in the podcast and is doubling down on them. He also spills some tea and says that the day the podcast was released was the day he had his phone call with Jessi. He says that Gabbie's intentions were to get Jessi to tell her fans to stop calling Gabbie apologist. That's not what she got from Jessi, so she released the podcast episode. He says that Gabbie says she wants an apology from Jessi because their problems were brought to the internet, but Alx says that their issues were only brought to light because Gabbie wouldn't stop talking about it. He further says that in Gabbie's video she said that she got a FaceTime from a random number, but Alx says, are people really dumb enough to believe that Gabbie's gonna answer a FaceTime from some random number? No, he said that Gabbie is the one who FaceTimed Curtis after Jessi stopped being friends with her and told Curtis that she would never believe Jessi. Alx addresses the Gabbie Hanna stance and says that they say things like, she can forgive Alx but not forgive Gabbie, and Alx says that it's Jessi's decision and it's up to her to decide who she forgives and who she doesn't. I completely agree. Alx has owned up to his wrongdoings. Jessi said that he did, and he said that as well, publicly and privately. But instead, Gabbie doesn't do that. She places the blame on others and tries to make them look as guilty as she feels. Alx gets into Gabbie's first lies, which was his first interactions with Curtis Lepore. Gabbie in her video accused Alx of lying because of a couple tweets about a tour that Alx and James were both on the lineup for and says that that was their first time meeting. But Alx said that tour ended up falling through and it never ended up happening, so he didn't meet Curtis Lepore at that time. He also says that he was not friends with Jessi at the time because Gabbie in her video says that he was friends with Jessi before everything happened. Alx said he did go down to a trip from Miami, but he didn't go there specifically for Jessi. Alx was invited to an event and he found out that Jessi was going to the same event. She said that he could stay at her place if he wanted to and that they could make content together. Alx said that he had a great time and that he really liked Jessi, but that doesn't make him her bestie. He says that it takes a little bit more time for him to call somebody a friend. Alx then gets into the exact dates that he stayed with Curtis, which was January 20th, 2014 through January 28th, 2014. Alx says that on January 28th, Curtis told him Curtis's lie of the story, and Alx said that he was very uncomfortable by that. So uncomfortable that he contacted his Airbnb lady and asked her if he can come 3 days earlier. Alx says it's not clicking for him how Gabbie had no prior relationship, friendship, or any sort of rapport with Curtis, but she made an attempt anyways to try to get in contact with him over the years. And mind you, that's already after Jessi had forgiven her for her past tweets. Alx says that he did hang out with Curtis from January 20th, 2014 to about mid-April 2014. But Alx says that him and Curtis were not as close, and Gabbie pretty much exaggerated their friendship by making it seem like they were collabing all the time, when Alx said the majority of their collabs came within the 8 days that he was staying at Curtis's house. Alx says between April 4th and April 23rd, he was over at Curtis's house sometime, and he says that Curtis looked completely beat down and had tears running down his face and told Alx what he had did. Now, fast forward a month later, Alx, along with other influencers, are now being flown out to Louisiana to promote the Purge movie. And Alx said at the time his roommates knew that he had a beef with Curtis, and someone came and told Alx that Curtis was talking bad about him to a lot of people. And Alx says that he tried to run up on Curtis. Alx says that night Curtis had tweeted a video of Alx, and Alx recalls responding on Twitter saying, "Don't forget you told me what you actually did to Jessi," or something along those lines. To which Alx recalls Curtis saying something along the lines of, "Thanks for being a big help to my lawyer before you decided to be fake." Alx said that he had told Curtis's lawyer in January when he was staying with Curtis that he didn't know what happened and that he wasn't there. Alx says that there was something so helpful or something so groundbreaking that they would have used it in court, but they never did. Another month later, in June 2014, Alx James says that a bunch of influencers were invited to the former Mike Tyson mansion and Gabbie Hanna was there. Alx says that Curtis had showed up to the party and Alx was familiar with the people running the event because they had invited him to several other events in the past. So he went up to the woman that he recognized that was giving wristbands and told her about everything that Curtis had did and why he shouldn't be at the party. And she said she was going to call security and that Curtis was going to be escorted out. Minutes later, Gabbie is asking Alx if he had seen Curtis, and Alx told her he had just gotten Curtis kicked out of the party, to which Gabbie says that she was disappointed because she wanted to talk to him and tell her that she's sorry for all the things that he's been going through. He said he pulled Gabbie aside at the party and told her all the tea from January of 2014 to that point. Alx says that Gabbie lies and says that the entire community was backing Curtis when he says that he told Gabbie the first day that he met her that he wasn't messing with Curtis. Alx says that after he told Gabbie what Curtis had told him what he actually did, Gabbie responds with, "Well, that's not what I heard." And Alx said that he's sure that's not what she was told because Curtis lied to him as well at first. Alx said that Gabbie seemed annoyed with the whole situation, which just further proved to him that she never believed Jessi. Mind you, at this point, Jessi had already forgiven Gabbie about the past tweets. Curtis was sentenced April 23rd, and a month later, Gabbie Hanna was looking for him to tell him that she's sorry for what he's going through. But honestly, by her previous tweets, is anybody really surprised? Alx alleges that during his road trip with Gabbie Hanna, Gabbie had said that if she were Jessi, that she would have kept her mouth shut because the Curtis situation is all she's going to be known for, and that she didn't only ruin his career, but she also ruined her own. And in the same conversation, she said that if Jessi didn't want any attention, why did she go to TMZ? Alx says that he told Gabbie even back then that Jessi had begged TMZ to not release the article and that she didn't even tell them about it. Somebody else leaked the story to TMZ, to which they reached out to Jessi for a comment. Alx says that in 2016, Curtis reached out to him to apologize, but shortly after his apology, he asked Alx to send him a video for a sketch that he needed a gay man for. Alx says that he should have never sent those videos to Curtis and that Jessi's friend Jen kind of went off on him about it. Alx also addressed Gabbie's claims that Alx had physically assaulted her and says that her story changed from that he hit her to that he threatened to hit her. He also addresses a recent podcast that Gabbie did where she talks about walking up to Jessi at a Vine meetup and squashing the beef. Alx says what actually had happened is that they were in a hotel room and Gabbie asked the owner of the hotel room if she can come. Jessi was there and everybody had already known about Gabbie's past tweet, so the owner had asked Jessi if she was okay with it. Alx says that after an hour of Gabbie being extremely awkward, that Gabbie had apologized to Jessi for the things that she had tweeted. Alx feels like it was a fake apology since everything that she said and done since that moment. In that same podcast, Gabbie lies and says that her listening to a man who hadn't been convicted yet isn't apologist behavior. But Curtis was convicted April 23rd, 2014, and Gabbie admitted that she had that conversation with him years later. Gabbie, out of her own mouth, said that the word apologist doesn't even exist.
On the phone call, the 3-hour phone call, Jessi read the definition of apologist to me, and it's an Urban Dictionary, dude. There's not even there's no real definition to it. It's not a real fucking word.
Of course, now she's trying to minimize what she said. Personally, I think that Gabbie Hanna is truly disgusting. I don't really understand how you apologize for something, then circle back, then project, and then place the blame on others, and then try to minimize your part for everything that you've done. Something I find interesting is that Gabbie always talks about how the Vine community still backed Curtis and how everybody perceived Jessi. But Gabbie was one of those people who perceived Jessi in that way. Gabbie always thought that Jessi was a liar and she never believed her even while they were friends. Gabbie only cares about her image and how people perceive her in her R-word apology behavior. But if you do R-word apologist behavior and people call you a R-word apologist, where's the lie? Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation down below. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. See you in the next one. Bye.